listening to the 10 Questions with the Musical Mind podcast with your host, Peter Harris.
Hey everybody, welcome back to 10 Questions with the Musical Mind. This is Peter Harris, your host. This week we welcome comedian Claudia Stavola to the mic. Claudia is not only a stand-up comedian and an aspiring author working on her first book, but she's also the on-air talent for Monsters of Rock Radio on the Dash Radio Network. Internet radio, she can be heard 5 days a week there in the mornings, and I suggest you give that a try for a great mix of music and a fantastic alternative to the standard terrestrial radio stations. So let's join Claudia, and we're going to talk about music, stand-up, and who was the best frontman in rock in this great conversation.
Appreciate you asking me.
No problem. And I think I did go over right. This is all going to be based on the social ramifications of the Battle of Hastings. I'm just kidding.
That does not ring a bell. But I do have my iPad handy to cheat with. So.
Right? I mean, what else is the internet for?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, I wanted to go over a bunch of things with you because you got several things going on, and you know we're usually a music podcast, but you are still you're morning DJ on Monsters of Rock Radio.
That's correct.
Yeah, and so part of do you want to explain for those who are not informed, like Dash Radio and that whole universe?
Sure. Well, the best way I could describe it for people that aren't familiar with it is it's very similar to the concept of Sirius XM in the sense that it's a platform that has several different stations that you can select and choose whatever you want to listen to. But Dash Radio is free. And I don't know how long that'll last. I mean, we'll see.
Right.
But it is free, and you download the app, and you can put it on your phone. You could put it on if you have, a smart home system in your home. You can put it on there, in your car, however you listen to your stuff. You just get the Dash Radio app, and then you select the station that you want to listen to. And obviously that would be Monsters of Rock, because why would you want to listen to anything else?
Right. As a matter of fact, I looked at the menu stuff on Dash Radio's website, and it actually said Monsters of Rock, and then the other 50 listings just said not Monsters of Rock.
Yeah, exactly. It said, don't even bother. No, right. I'm just kidding. There are actually good stations on there, but my time is so limited. I don't even have time to peruse the other stations because I'm either, doing the show, prepping show ideas, writing my book, or, performing stand-up comedy. So I feel like I don't have even time to enjoy it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now, let me ask you about this. I was briefly in radio. Are you taping? It seems like that'd be difficult to do live. I mean, are you going in 2 days a week and knocking out 6 segments and that kind of thing, or how does it work?
Well, if I'm pressed for time, they will let me maybe record some stuff, but they do want it to be live,
right? So
that the listener gets that live experience.
Okay.
So obviously I'm not, flying into LA to do it. So, I have a setup where I could be connected in and, do it live from my place, my location.
Right.
And then it's, listen, I wouldn't know how to set it up. Somebody got me all set up, so it works. I know not to touch anything.
Right.
But yeah, but there are times occasionally where, if I'm going to be gone for a period of time, like traveling for, comedy or for whatever reason, like, maybe I'm driving to Florida to visit my mom because I don't fly anymore, then I'll maybe record a few ahead of time if I'm able to. Right.
I was going to ask because, I would have assumed almost you record some, but yeah, you can't do that all the time because what if you're, somebody major in the rock world passes away or something and,
exactly.
You're, let's hear it for David Bowie. Looking forward to his next one. Like, hey, he died yesterday, but
exactly. Yes. And we've actually talked about that. Like, it would be very strange if I had a week already recorded, and then all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, and Ozzy, blah, blah, blah. And, you don't know with Ozzy because his health is always kind of questionable. He could, I don't want this to happen, but he could go any day at the rate he goes sometimes.
Right.
And, and we play a lot of Ozzy, so it would be strange to just
not mention it and
intro a song or whatever and not even mention his passing.
Right.
So yes, these are all things that are taken into consideration, and one of the main reasons why pre-recording isn't the ideal way to go.
Right. Well, that's good. That seems to add a little bit of authenticity to it. So I thought about that because I used to have to go in and kind of frantically search the internet for any kind of rock news or whatever. So A, you don't say something stupid, and B, you have some kind of idea what's going on. But now, do you have any flexibility? I mean, I imagine they've got their playlist. So like, how much is it rotated in and out, or do you have any kind of say so, or is it basically your spots?
Most of the songs are pre-programmed as far as they know ahead of time what's going to be coming in for each person's shift. So I can't sit there on the spot and pull a song necessarily. I mean, we try to, like, I can say, listen, I want more Van Halen during my time on the air, because I'm a huge.
And why wouldn't you every day? Right.
Yeah, I play a lot of Van Halen. So, I can put in a request and say, listen, I'd like a little bit more of this or that, but I don't actually create every single song on the playlist. So.
I used to do that. It was kind of underhanded, but I would get so sick of, and I want to touch on this with you also, but most corporate radio stations play the same crap over and over again. And terrestrial radio I'm talking about. And so on my playlist, the station I was at, you'd look at it and, 15 minutes in, they're playing Panama. I'm like, no, but I'd go and find like Hang 'em High or one of the lesser known B tracks, that was maybe the same vein, but like, here's something that people aren't hearing on the radio. Like, I'm a huge Van Halen fan, but I don't want to hear Jump. I get it. I get Jump.
We don't even play. I don't even know, since I've worked there, if we've ever even played Jump. We may have, but we don't really play that.
Right. But I would go out of my way to play something more obscure, but yeah.
Yeah. And Atomic Punk isn't so obscure, but it's definitely not in the mainstream of, people who know Van Halen. That's not going to be one of the first 10 or even 15 songs that they would name. So we definitely pull some of the oddball tracks or deeper tracks with a lot of the artists, for sure.
Well, yeah, you keep that in mind. If somebody's not a big fan of the band, if you go anywhere outside of the 4 or 5 big hits, even if it's a concert staple, a large part of the radio audience is not going to know that song very well.
That's true. Yeah.
But that's one thing that's just bugged me to death about terrestrial radio is, and this is not to be just a bitch fest, but this is something I've always complained about. Clear Channel, iHeartMedia, whatever you want to call it. If you had told me in 1986 that in 2019 they'd still be playing Freebird and Hotel California every half an hour, I wouldn't have believed you.
I know. But it is pretty mind-blowing because even, when you put on, even on some of the non-terrestrial stations, they still use the same go-tos, probably because they know people are switching over from terrestrial, but they're afraid to go off of what they know. Everything's about familiarity, and people don't seem to get sick of it for some reason. Well, I equate it to the mass audiences of stand-up comedy, not to switch gears, I notice that the most popular comedy, or the comedy that gets the most reaction, and of course there's always comedians that are off the beaten path, but it's sort of the same jokes, the same safe, easy. Let's just forget about politics because everybody's doing that same joke. But when it comes to, it's all relationship stuff, like, I don't blow my husband anymore. Any foreplay for me is him vacuuming the rug. It's just corny.
Right. And every guy comedian has to walk out on stage and be like, I'm married and I'm an idiot. Ta-da! Like, that's the joke. Get it? I'm stupid.
Right. Yeah, and everybody has to pander to the women, and women are smarter than men. Am I right, ladies? And everybody's like, oh my God, yes! And it's like, you're so fucking stupid.
Right.
Can I swear on this thing?
Oh, yeah. Of course you can. It doesn't matter. Well, that's like when I remember being, I used to always call it it's the same with comedy, music, even some movies. I call it the master of mediocrity. When you have like
yes,
blase pop groups and stuff like that. It's just, you'd be in a bar. I remember back in the, the 90s, and the local guy who's got the acoustic guitar playing the same crap, and he goes into Brown Eyed Girl, and of course you hear the girl next to you go, "This is my song." Yeah, because that's only like 75% of the population, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, you moron. You're not special.
He totally wrote that about you 20 years before you were born, and you got it right. You knew it.
Yes. Yep. No, but it's so true. It's like people are, and I love the fact that you use that phrase about mediocrity, because that's another thing. I'm working on a book I'm writing. It's called 100 Things to Hate Before You Die. Uh-huh. And of course it's comedic, but it's a bunch of rants. And one of the rants does include, I have a phrase very similar to what you said. I can't remember how I said it, but it is basically about how people love mediocrity. Like that's what they crave. They relate to it. They seek it out. It's like, why do you want to be the same? It's like the women with the designer pocketbooks. Why do you want to look like everybody else? It's this safe mentality. And that to me is weak. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with, if there's some things that are mainstream and you genuinely like it, great. But the people who blindly, a good friend of mine coined the phrase, 30 years ago. He called it the eager consumer. Like, just shovel it down my throat. Just tell me what to like, and it's exactly right. But yeah, it's so true for music and comedy and all that. And you're right. The comedy thing, there's definitely, the standard tropes of, like the woman's smarter. What else have you? I'm sure you could rattle them off better than I can, but.
Yeah, well, it's the woman's smart. She's married to a bumbling idiot, and for some reason she never realizes that makes her look like an idiot. It's like, well, then why would you stay with the guy if he's so stupid? But it's just, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's such a tired premise, and then the same jokes about smoking pot, and rather than driving like you're drunk, you drive too slow and accidentally put the windshield wipers on, and people are roaring over this. I'm like, really? You've never heard that before?
Right.
I mean, it's just not clever, and I admit I get annoyed by it. I do. I can't help it.
And some people have. I mean, the thing about that is of course it's not black and white, because a lot of the art is delivery, but. You're right. I've heard different things. Who was the guy? Somebody did a foreign guy did a fantastic bit on the vagaries of the English language and how things have many meanings with different inflections and contexts. But that was good because it was something genuine and different. Not just the, I mean, George Carlin did that kind of thing earlier, but this guy was approaching from a genuine place of being a foreigner, learning it and going, none of this crap you people are talking about makes sense, So it was good.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I've read some of your blog, and now is the blog going to be? Is it going to be a sort of a compilation thing that's going to form the backbone of your book, or how's that going to work?
Yeah, I did put some things on my website, which I hate the word blog, so I just call them rants. Uh-huh. I don't know why that word blog it sounds gross to me. It sounds ugly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I do have some stuff, and that stuff I wrote a while ago, but I will incorporate that into the book. And then I started thinking about, do I really want to put all this on my website? Because if it's there, then who's going to buy the book?
Right.
And the time that I put into it and the passion that I have about it, I don't want it just to be something you can access on my website. So I don't even feel like I put my best pieces out, because I'm very differently than the mainstream, if you will.
Right.
Like the idea with stuff like this is like, oh, you want to get everything out there so you can build a following and people will see what you got, and then people are going to want to get the book. But I'm like, I don't want to put my stuff out there for people to steal, because I've actually performed stand-up and had people steal my material
I'm sure.
just from performing on stage. Not saying I'm some amazing, prolific performer, but it just happens, So I get very protective of my creative property, and I never followed the norm. I never followed the rules in the sense that, I don't break rules purposely, to be an asshole or anything, but I'm saying rules like this that to me don't necessarily make sense. So I'm probably not going to put everything out on the website. I'd rather just take my chances. And if I get a publisher, if I get a literary agent who can get me a publisher, I'll be happy. If not, I'm going to have to self-publish, which I'm trying to avoid. But Either way, I want to get the book out. So that's a very long answer to a totally different question that you asked.
Yeah, I can see that. And it is a dilemma because, they say like, oh, it's exposure. But at some point, it's like, yeah, but exposure is great. But at some point, it should turn into what pays my bills. Not just limitless, it's for exposure. And having every bit of your book online, it's like having a preview for a movie come out and it shows like the guy who dies at the end. Like, well, that's...
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not famous, so it would be a lot harder for me to prove, hey, I wrote this first versus, let's say, somebody big out there got a piece of it and then they took it and they made it famous, and then nobody's going to believe it was mine first, even if you could see it was on my website. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
that makes sense.
I'm not willing to take that risk, and it may prevent me from getting further, but I'd rather just have that peace of mind right now.
God, I wonder how that was. I'm just thinking out loud now, but back when they had like the almost communal living arrangements, and I'm thinking about the stories of like whatever house it was near the comedy club where Sam Kinison and all the guys were living. Basically, there had to have been a lot of incestuous jokes there and a lot of stealing, almost like subliminal osmosis, absorbing each other's material.
Oh yeah, because I'm sure they were riffing off of each other. So then you end up going back and forth, and then it turns into something else, and then it's like, you don't even remember who really brought it up first. So anybody could take that idea. I'm friends with a comic. He's an older gentleman. His name is Max Docelli, and he was roommates for some time back in the day with Sam Kinison. So right when Sam was blowing up, they were roommates and good friends, but I don't remember a lot of the stories right now. He told me some good ones, so I'll have to try to get those again, and maybe if we talk again, I can share those with you. Yeah,
definitely, that'd be cool. I love all those old stories. One of the simple ones I heard, and it's been fairly recently, was, and if I'm going off memory, but Eddie Murphy had one of his early stand-up routines, and and he was real blue and lots of profanity, and I guess he backstage or somewhere at a club, ran into Rodney Dangerfield, and at this point Eddie Murphy is a nobody. They said Rodney was like, hey, you need to tone down the profanity a little bit and tone it down and go a little bit cleaner and that kind of stuff. And that was his advice to him. And he said like 3 years later, he's in a men's room behind a club and he's, at the urinal taking a piss, and he looks over and Rodney Dangerfield's there 3 years later, and said Rodney just looked over and goes, who knew?
That's perfect.
Right.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Right.
Well, the thing about that story is there are comics that do that, though. They try to tell you what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And I just find that absurd. It's like everybody's different. Everybody perceives comedy differently. So it's not for me to tell somebody that they should be cleaner or dirty, that's something that's always bothered me, because I'm what you would call politically incorrect. I just kind of make observations about how ridiculous people are. I comment on it. Some people may find it offensive, but if you're not completely straight-laced, then you're considered dirty or blue or, whatever, even if, you don't say the F word every 2 minutes. And that was something I used to hear. Oh, you're really, what do they say? You're really blue. You're really dirty. There was another word I can't remember. You should, if you want to get better bookings, and I'm like, I'm not going to fake who I am. I just do what comes naturally to me.
It'd be hard to be funny when you're consciously trying to be something you're not. maybe some people could do it, but that seems like it'd be tough. But yeah, and do people even say blue anymore? I said that, but I don't know if that's a
I do, just because
phrase
it's
from
funny,
the 50s, as far as I
like
know.
Old people things. So
yeah, exactly. Like that's the way that was. Don Rickles was blue, and I'm still saying it.
Yes, yeah, and I love Don Rickles. For the record, he was awesome.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You talk about it. I used to love it, even as a teenager. Like he'd go on, David Letterman, and you could tell even David Letterman's like, I'm not gonna fuck with this guy too much.
Yeah, please. He was not somebody that anybody could even keep up with. I mean, he was the master. It didn't matter who he was with. Nobody could compete with Don Rickles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Remember? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Do you remember the Don Rickles Frank Sinatra story where Don had a date and he was at a restaurant where Frank, he was good friends with Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
And so he wanted to impress the girl. So he says to Frank, can you come over to the table, come say hi, make me look good. So Frank's like, yeah, of course, I gotcha. So he's at Don's at the table with the girl, and all of a sudden Frank Sinatra struts over and he's like, hey, Don, how you doing? And Don Rickles goes, please, Frank, can't you see I'm busy? Like he totally dissed Frank, even though he told him to come to the table.
Just to set him up to make him, yeah.
Yeah, he sets him up and makes him look like a complete asshole.
Right. Not like, hey, I'm going to blow you off. Just like pull it out from under him, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So just that was the beauty of Don Rickles.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Now I want to ask you, because I always ask musicians about their songwriting process and how they go about their creativity. So what I'm curious about from you is, obviously comedy is observational. So I'm assuming a lot of it just comes from things you're observing around the world and in life, but what's the process for you? Like, do you sit down and go, okay, I need to work on a routine? Is there a place you go? Is there a system you have? Or is it literally just, I'm out shopping and, I just thought of this funny and I type it in my phone because this might be a good punchline or whatever?
Yeah. So for me, and I've heard many different things from many comics, like I think Jerry Seinfeld is one who literally does a very regimented process where, I take my notebook and I write for 4 hours a day. I mean, I don't know if that's exact. I'm just, giving you an example. Mm-hmm. I believe he's the one that said that, and there are others that have a similar approach where they feel like, you have to make it like a job and sit yourself down. For me, it doesn't work like that. When I put that kind of unnatural effort into it, I don't get the result that I want. So for me, it's been mostly just happenstance, where I find when I'm most relaxed is when something might come to me and I can kind of work with it, or maybe it's something I already had as a bit, but I wasn't quite where I wanted it to be.
Sure.
And then a year down the road, something will just boom, light bulb will go off, and I'll be like, that's what I need to do with that joke, or something like that. But I feel like I've been in a I guess you call it writer's block for a while now. I've been busy with so many other things that I feel I am starting to feel a little stale, because I've been doing a lot of the same set for quite some time now. And I'll gradually pepper in new things, but I really want to do a whole new 30 minutes, 45 minutes of material. And it's very difficult to get to it because I'm trying to do so many things at once. I feel like I haven't even had time to tend to it. But
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, when you feel stale, at least for me, I know it's not going to connect as well with the audience. And that's something that I'm, concerned about, because I'm starting to feel that stale feeling now,
Right. I can totally understand that. I do this for my love of music and stuff like that, but you get so caught up in editing and arranging, scheduling interviews and that kind of thing. And, and try to find new bands. And then I'll realize I didn't even realize that this band I've liked for 30 years has a new album out because I'm not paying attention. I'm so pulled into many different directions.
Yeah, that's a perfect way of explaining it. That's a great example because you're so busy with the business end of things that the creative part starts to slip away from you.
Right. Yeah, that's even more succinct. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, it's hard to do 20 things, and you love doing it, so, it's
right.
fine, but yeah, I can see that. And what you were saying before, I can see that. Like if you have some kind of bit and you're like, that's kind of a funny concept, but maybe a year later you're in a different situation. Like that's the situation this would be funny for, or whatever, some kind of context for a joke you already had an idea for. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I forgot who I was talking to earlier, and I was saying something about this topic that I'm going to talk about on the radio. It has to do with the Walmart in America that has the most 911 calls. And then I was saying, what
it's a 50-state tie.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you would think it would be Florida, but surprisingly it's not. I don't know if you listen to the show, so I could give you the spoiler alert now if you want, but it's actually in Chicopee, Massachusetts, which is it's Western Mass, which is about an hour and a half outside of Boston. So that's kind of surprising. But anyway, so I was saying to whoever I was talking to, I don't even remember, but I was saying, yeah, this is sort of where I was going to go with it. Instead of keeping it so strictly to the facts, I was going to make a joke about it. And then they said, you could do that on stage. And I go, oh, yeah. See, I don't even think of these things as being something I could work into, my stand-up act. And I'm like, I could do that, but I'd have to build it and go more into other things. But it's like something that could have been a joke never even dawned on me, and somebody else had to point it out to me.
It could be a nice segue, or if nothing else or something. Yeah, definitely.
Right.
No, I can see what you're saying, because a lot of times I'll think of random things, and I'm by no means a comedian at all, but that's when I think of things like when you're driving or doing something random. And I was thinking today, I was getting mad because somebody in front of me is trying to turn left on a busy highway. I'm like, why are you trying to turn left in front of, across 6 lanes of traffic at, at 5 o'clock? But anyway, I'm just like, why is it that rednecks have to make a left turn or have to turn into every Taco Bell? Like, is Taco Bell it's like a way station for truckers? Like you're required by law to turn in there?
Yeah, exactly. Like your car just automatically goes. You don't even have any control over it.
Right. Like if you buy an 88 Mustang, it's already GPS programmed to go into every Taco Bell. Like,
yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, that makes sense though, as far as being spontaneous, because some people need to work through the wall, I guess, or the block, but at some point I think it becomes forced, and it doesn't. And that's just for any creativity. Like I think there's a good thing to set up a regimen, but at the same time, if it's not coming, not happening, at some point you're just beating a dead horse, so. Right.
Yeah, and I think for me in the beginning when I first started comedy, everything felt more scripted because I literally was just trying to memorize everything word for word. I didn't have any delivery down. I didn't have any inflection down. I didn't have any natural animation because I am very animated when I talk, but because I was so new to it, all I was focused on was the words. And I sucked. I really sucked because I was just so it was like I was just reading off of a script.
Right.
So of course it wasn't connecting. I mean, nobody's a superstar the first time they get on stage. I mean, maybe there's one or two, but so.
Did you hear the one about the?
Yeah, right. Take my wife, please.
Right.
So. Yeah, it definitely is an art form that you have to get comfortable. You have to feel comfortable in order for the audience to feel comfortable.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely. And how many? Gosh, if you're doing a 30-minute set, I mean, I'm sure you have an idea. I've never thought about this before, but in average of a 30-minute set, how many core jokes do you have that are that are anchors of your routine, and then the rest is segues and offshoots? Does that make sense? Or do you?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean, and it's funny because I've never actually counted them, but I definitely have segments. I know, I have a whole thing about people who have no shame, and then there's different subcategories of that category.
Gotcha.
So, it might start out with, the way people leave the house and the way they dress and, blah, blah, blah. And then offshoot of that, people that have no shame. Well, let's talk about the Kardashians while we're at it. And then, there's that. So that's a whole one segment. And then, I have a little bit about, donation in your name gifts, but that's just its own thing. There's no offshoot to it. So I know in my mind I can map things out, like online dating, and I know that can go into relationships, or so there's definitely core things, and then some of them have a sub thing, and some of them are just their own thing, but I have the map in my head, and sometimes I shift things around depending on the audience. One group I might start with one bit, but another group I might save that bit till the end. I just got to play off of the vibe,
Is it hard to read an audience in the first few minutes, or is it pretty easy?
For me, it's usually pretty easy because for some reason I've always had really good instincts, not just with comedy, but just like I can get a vibe on something like pretty quickly, and I'm usually right. And so I can know before a show even starts if it's going to suck.
Right.
And I literally, before I even get out there, I'm like, I already know this is going to be horrible. Like, I just have this weird vibe about it, but I'll try to fight it. And I'll say, oh no, I'm just, most of the time I'm on target. But yeah, I can tell usually how they're going to be. And you can kind of tell based on how they are with the comic that goes on before you. Like, if that comic is really shitty and they're loving everything that person says, I gotta gauge, okay, so are they going to hate me because I don't do that kind of material, or are they really easy to please, so they're going to really love me too?
Right, exactly. Yeah,
So,
you're like, I guess I need to work in more waka wakas into my routine, or
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I usually can feed off of the energy and read into it ahead of time.
Cool. Well, let's go, touch back on your, obviously you got the gig on Monsters of Rock Radio. You're a music fan, and we follow each other on Twitter, and you've always got your band shirts on and stuff. And who is, in your opinion, the greatest frontman in rock? Living, dead, current, past.
Yeah, people are going to hate me, but I, as a lawyer, would say I take the totality of the circumstances.
Okay.
So, listen, yes, we have Steven Tyler, fabulous. Robert Plant, amazing. I can't say that I would put anybody current as one of the greatest frontmen of all time. I
Correct.
Just can't.
No, just kidding.
Nobody's popping into my head, so that should say something, because if there were that person, it should automatically pop into my head, right?
Right.
So to me, David Lee Roth was the best frontman of all time. And I'm talking rock. I'm not talking, other genres of music, of course, because then we're going down a whole rabbit hole where we can get too crazy.
Right.
But, okay. The energy of David Lee Roth, not many could compete with that.
No
okay?
way. Yeah.
Even today, the energy that he has just as a human being. But I know people criticize him for the last few times that Van Halen went out. Oh, he doesn't have a voice, or he didn't. First of all, he still can move. He's still an entertainer.
Right.
And I defy anybody to have a voice as good as his worst voice. He still is in tune. He can still do it. Maybe he wasn't remembering all the words. That's another story.
Well, he always did that. I mean, if you go back to bootlegs of 1980s, like, I forgot the fucking words, man. Yeah. Like, he still did that.
I mean, really, in my opinion, that's part of the shtick. I mean, I feel like, maybe some of it is genuine, but I also feel like part of it is sort of just like, hey, I'm so effed up. Look at me. I can't even remember the words. It's so rock and roll of me to not know where my head's at. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I take it.
Absolutely.
But, I just feel like he had a look. He had a personality. his showmanship, second to none. His lyrics, I put it all in there. You got to account for everything. I mean, people discount the fact that he wrote so many fucking songs. I mean, I feel like he just gets discounted when he's so much more than people really look at him.
I think he's absolutely a genius, and people discount that because of the persona and the girls and party stuff. But have you ever read his biography that's out of print now, that Crazy from the Heat?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fantastic. But yeah, his lyrics. About a year ago or so, I put up a poll, and I listed some of his lyrics from one of his solo albums. It was really kind of a cool couple lines he had, and I put up, who do you think wrote this? And it was like, Carole King, James Taylor, blah blah, and David Lee Roth, and of course, people picking Carole King, all this kind of stuff. It's Roth because he's got some really cool turns of phrase that he uses. Yeah, definitely. And the whole, I remember when I was a young teenager, just the karate kicks and the look, it was just like magic. I was an Eddie fan first and foremost, but just that package was literally, that was the Keith Richards, Mick Jagger combo for the 80s. It really was.
Yeah, and I mean, who else did it as well as David Lee Roth? I mean, yes, Mick Jagger was phenomenal. I mean, moving around, he, shaking his little butt and all that. But nobody did what David Lee Roth did physically.
No,
There's
yeah.
just nobody. And I mean, he just made it look so badass. And people also forget the fact of the type of environment he grew up in. He grew up with a very vaudevillian, I don't even know if that's a word, but he was exposed to a lot. And I just heard it's probably been over a month ago now, I did talk about it on the radio show. I really don't get a chance to listen to podcasts except yours, of course.
Sure. Yeah.
But Mark Maron, who's a comedian, everybody has always praised his podcast. I've never heard an episode in my life, and I actually like Mark Maron. I think he's
got the
brilliant.
WTF podcast, right?
Yeah, he's a brilliant guy, funny guy, but I've just never had a chance. Well, something popped up on my my Google page, like different stories you might be interested in, and it said David Lee Roth on the Mark Maron podcast. So I said, I'm going to listen to that. So I listened to it while I was making my breakfast or whatever. And I've heard David Lee Roth interviewed before. This was the best interview I've ever heard with him.
It was a good one.
You heard it, right?
Yeah, I did.
Because I felt like there were things that you really were learning about him that in all these years of being interested in Van Halen and David Lee Roth that I never really knew about his childhood. And even though he didn't come out and say things, you could read very easily between the lines. And I think coming from what he came from, he's a pretty impressive guy.
Yeah.
So I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but I get very defensive when it comes to him because
I do too.
They always shit on him, and it pisses me off. It's
right.
Like it's just a very strange attitude that people have. But I would, as far as I'm concerned, best rock and roll frontman of all time.
Well, that's my answer too. So I don't really have anything to add to that conversation. But I agree with you on all fronts. And the people who diss on him, I just think don't get it. It's like who's better than that? I mean, I'm not going to name names, but there's so many people that were imitating him or that idea in the 80s and beyond that, he set a template, and there's a lot of truth to the fact that you were mentioning his vaudevillian inspirations and stuff. When the Van Halen brothers were young, they were, okay, we're going to play note for note covers of Black Sabbath and wear blue jeans. And he came along and he's wanting Motown and R&B and disco and funk in there and vaudeville and the Temptations stage moves and stuff. And he forced them into something that they would have not have been.
I know. And look at how different that band was than any other rock band ever on the history of this planet. You know what I mean? It's like there's been no band. Think of that first album. Who had a debut album like that? Like that sound should have come from a band that had already had 5 albums already before that. Like that. The fact that was their debut album it blows my mind even today thinking about it. It's like, that's just electricity that you cannot recreate ever.
Yeah, it really is, and it's phenomenal. Just a lot of that's Ted Templeman and his genius in how
Yes.
to capture it. But I've also had a theory that the album art affected a lot of things. When Van Halen 2 came out, I always thought it was of a little bit less of a polish and less of a glossy sound. And I
Mhm.
swear that's because of the muted blue color of the album cover is what made me think that.
Oh, yeah, I never thought of it like that. But yeah,
Because
it's
the
almost
first
like it
cover's
had
that
that
awesome. It's got this
rougher.
right. It's the first one's like black and white with color and the smears of red and green photography, the film smears, and the blue one's just that muted '70s blue and orange cover. And
Yep.
I'm like,
Yep.
oh, they're my favorite band, but I was like, oh, it's not quite as jump out at you as this first album. But I wonder, well, if I'd never heard any of it and you just played them all back to back, would I even know where one ended and one started? I don't know.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, Diver Down wasn't one of my favorite. The first four to me, like, they all stand the test of time. They still kick ass. They get me every time I hear one of those riffs, you know.
Sure.
But Diver Down had some really good stuff, and then had some stuff I could take or leave. And 1984, obviously, of course, I love Hot for Teacher with the drums, uh, Panama. I want to jump if I ever hear that song. I can't stomach it. I
Right.
can't deal with it. To me, that's not Van Halen. And even David Lee Roth, he didn't even want that song. He didn't want the keyboards. He didn't
Right.
want that shit. And you brought up the like the Motown influence, disco and all that. And that's another thing that I don't understand about. I notice with a lot of people who are into like hard rock or heavy metal, like they have this attitude that you can only like rock, and
Right.
you got to piss on anything with a beat like disco. To me, what's wrong with disco? I'm not saying the lyrics are profound. But there's a lot of disco music that is uplifting. It makes you want to move.
Right.
I like soul. I'm all about soul, 70s R&B, Motown. That's good music. And when I saw Van Halen, I don't know how many years ago it was now, when they had Kool and the Gang open up, everybody
Yeah.
was pissed off. I'm like, why are you pissed off? That, to me, that's stupid. It's
Yeah,
like
that was the tour in what 2010, I guess, or
yeah, it was
I
probably
saw them
only
in
10 years ago.
2007, 8, and they had that Kailani Marley open up, and it was the next tour they had Kool and the Gang. Yeah.
Yeah. And listen, I mean, is it typical that you would have and I don't even call Kool and the Gang disco necessarily.
No,
I
and they
mean,
were pretty. Yeah.
yeah, they were sort of like a progressive R&B, right? But yeah, I was like, I couldn't believe how angry people were getting over it. It's like, just enjoy yourself, and Van Halen will be on shortly. Like, people just, I don't know, they focus on the weirdest things to get mad about. I don't understand it. And Kool and the Gang actually have some really good songs.
Oh,
If
some
you
great
ever listen,
songs. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I would go see
So
a Kool and the Gang concert just them. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I'm very open to well, I shouldn't say most kinds of music, because I'm not really into like folksy music, like depressing, anything that's too depressing I can't handle.
Right. No, I'm with you, but I get what you're saying. Like, I think it's very possible. Like, I've got Spotify playlists and stuff that are just all over the map, and I think it's very legitimate to love, Black Sabbath, and then also say, you know what, Karen Carpenter's got a fantastic voice. I mean,
Oh my
you,
God, yes.
you can appreciate both. It's possible.
Yeah, because I'm living proof of that. I love the Carpenters. I love Black Sabbath. I
Right.
love Metallica, but I also love early Bee Gees. I mean, Saturday Night Fever. There are some songs, that I can deal with, but if I'm going to listen to the Bee Gees, I'm going to listen to some older stuff, and people don't even understand the songwriting of the Gibb brothers. That,
Right.
they in England, they were compared to the Beatles at one point as far as their songwriting abilities. People
Yeah.
don't understand these things.
Yeah, they don't. It's, like I said, the master of mediocrity. They want top 40.
Yep. That's all they want. They want
But,
everything spoon fed, like you said earlier.
well, it's just a matter of, I hate to say it, but it's different people care about different things, but if you're not interested in music, you're not interested in breaking down complexities, and you can't tap your toe to Beethoven's Fifth. So
right.
So if you don't want to think about it, if you just want something to go along to, and it's got something bouncy, and that's enough for most people, just to be background noise, and I get that, and that's what a lot of music's there for. But now I don't think any artist is saying I'm going to write songs for idiots, but well, maybe they do, but. But
right.
there's a market for every type of thing, and so I don't know. Well, anyway, before we let you go, I want to make sure everybody knows how to check you out on Dash Radio, how to check out your website, check for dates to come see you to on tour or whatever, and blah blah. When you're expecting that out, what's the lowdown and all that?
Okay, so let's start with the book. If there are any literary agents listening, that's part of the battle, is trying to build a platform so that a literary agent would even consider opening your submission. So,
hey, wait, can I interrupt you there?
Mm-hmm.
Talking about Van Halen, have you read Van Halen Rising?
No, book? You know what? I haven't read that. The last book that I read, I know that's not recent, but I was also, since you just brought it up, I meant to ask you if you read K.K. Downing's.
I have not yet, no.
Okay, because that's one that I highly recommend, the K.K. Downing autobiography. So good. I'll just say that. But no, I have not read Van Halen Rising. I need to make time to read. I never even read The Dirt. I still have it sitting in my bookcase. So there's a lot of stuff I have to get to.
Well, the reason I was going to bring that up is, yes, it's a great book. You need to read it. But I've met him and I've interviewed the author of the book. His name's Greg Randolph. Great guy. He's a historian. Did just a ton of research in that book. And but he approached a smaller publisher, I believe in Canada, to get his first book published. So he might have some tips, as long as I'm pimping Greg Randolph out to give literary advice for free. But
no, that's helpful to know, actually.
Yeah. I'll shoot you his on Twitter. I'll shoot you his @whatever, so you can find him easily.
Okay, cool. I feel like we might be following each other, but just in case, yes, please send that to me. I'd appreciate that.
Definitely. Yeah, he's a good guy. And he would at least have some don't bother with this, or this might be a way to approach that, or that kind of thing. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, I know, because it's the literary world is very interesting, and it's very specific, and lots of rules, especially when, you're trying to, because what I'm writing would technically be considered nonfiction. So even though it's humor nonfiction, well, when you don't have, I'm not famous, so I don't have the kind of platform they'd be looking for. So there aren't many literary agents that would probably take a chance on me. So
yeah, I remember him telling me that when he was marketing his book, the publishing houses were going, well, you're writing a book on Van Halen. We don't know. You're not a known author. Just get Eddie to write it with you. And he's like, that's not going to happen.
Exactly. I'm not best friends with Eddie Van Halen.
Right. He's not going to write it with me. He doesn't,
Oh my God, they're so stupid.
Yeah. They were just saying, get David to write it with you. Get Eddie to write it with you. Do you understand that's not even a remote realistic proposal?
Yeah, and how could they not even know that? That's insane.
Right. Yeah, I'll go to his website that he hasn't updated in 5 years and ask him there.
Yeah, and even though he's a recluse at this point, I'll make sure that he wants to come to my house and write a book with me.
Right. Yeah, and if you've read an interview with Eddie, he's given the same stock answers for 20, 30 years.
Yeah, he probably has a robot version of himself that he puts out there when it's time to answer questions.
Yeah, my good friend, he was asking me, he goes, I guess your white whale, your ultimate interview would be Eddie. I was like, no, it would be David Lee Roth, because Eddie's my favorite guitar player of all time, but he's been given the same answers to every question for my entire life, and I'm 47 years old. I was like, David Lee Roth would be fascinating to talk to, because he will actually converse with you and tell you stories.
And he'll give you more information about the Van Halen brothers than the Van Halen brothers will. So
that's what I'm saying.
I'm talking to David.
Yeah. Yeah. Eddie Van Halen will be like, well, actually, did you know we came over from Holland with $50 and a piano? Yeah, I read that 1978 issue of Guitar World. Yeah.
Yes, we knew that before you knew that.
Right. Exactly.
Oh my
But
God.
yeah, so I interrupt you. So the book.
Book. God knows the timing on that. I don't even want to guess at this point, but I'm gonna put a time frame on myself, and if I can't get a literary agent by whatever time frame that is, I haven't decided yet. But then I'll just go into the self-publishing mode and hope that it gains traction, and maybe it'll be one of those rarities where it just explodes out of nowhere.
Hey, at least it's self-publishing is a possibility nowadays. I mean, at least you have that option.
Yes, I mean, my dream has always been to be published, but if I got to do it the other way, I got to do it the other way. It is what it is, which I don't believe I just said it is what it is, because that's one of my most hated phrases of all time.
Well, I'm going to actually clip that part out in the editing, and I'm just going to loop that and put that on the...
Yeah, you're just going to keep having me go, it is what it is.
That's your answer, like every other question in this interview.
Yeah. I'm going to change my Twitter handle to "It is what it is."
Yeah, and that's the name. That's the title of the podcast. Like Claudia Stavola, "It is what it is."
Yeah. At the end of the day, I hate
right.
when people say that too. Actually, that's one of my rants is about words that people get wrong. Don't even get me started on that, because we'll be talking for another hour. So.
Right.
But yeah, so that's the non-story of the book. Website is claudiacomedy.com.
Okay.
And what else were we going to say? Radio. That's what you wanted to know, right?
Yeah. When are you on? That kind of thing.
Okay, so Monsters of Rock on Dash Radio. And I was saying earlier, if you download the app and so forth and so on. But just so you know, if you're on a laptop, I've done this before, so I'm assuming others can do it. If you can't download the app, you can just go to themonstersofrock.com. Mm-hmm. There's a "the" in front of it. themonstersofrock.com. When you get to that first page, it'll say "Listen Live," and if you push that little, click on the arrow for "Listen Live," a little box will come up, sign in with Facebook, sign in with whatever. Just X the box out. Don't even pay attention to it. And then it'll just start playing right there from the screen. It should anyway. That's how I've done it in the past. But so there is a way to do it on your own.
There you go. It works.
Hey, look at that. See, proof.
Yep.
I should have tried to identify that song, but I wasn't paying attention. So yeah,
it was Jump. No, just kidding.
Yeah. Technically, we are West Coast based, so the boss likes me to use the West Coast time. I'm the 6 a.m. Morning person, which of course East Coast is 9 a.m. So 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the East Coast. 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. West Coast, and you figure out in between, you subtract or add that hour, however it goes.
Right.
But
I think you take the coefficient of West Coast time and divide by 2.
There you go. Yeah. That sounds good to me. That works for me. So that's Monday through Friday.
Cool.
And that's about it, I think.
Well,
that's
cool.
Funny.
Well, I appreciate you doing all this. Answer all the questions for us. It's been fascinating. I'm going to check out a little more of the Monsters of Rock radio. I've checked out your stand-up routines online, so I like that stuff. So I'll have to check out the radio, and because I'm a big fan of all this, the serious and all the internet radio is just such a breath of fresh air over, what we've been dealing with the last 20, 30 years.
Oh, absolutely. And of course I promote Dash Radio because I'm on it and it's awesome and it's free, but I am a Howard Stern fan, so I do still listen to Sirius, I must admit. Yeah. Because I got to listen to my Howard. But yeah, it's so much better not having any commercials and
just the variety of music is
Yeah, that's it. You could select exactly what you want to listen to and not be held hostage by the terrestrial mediocrity, right, as we say. And as far as my stand-up routines online, I have not updated a video in I don't even know how long. And that's another one of my things that I do opposite of what everybody else does. Like, oh, you got to constantly put out new content. But I get superstitious and I say, screw it. Book me or don't book me, and you'll see what you get live. That's how I roll.
There you go. Well, cool.
All right.
Well, Claudia, I appreciate it. And
that's great. I appreciate it so much. I had so much fun, and thank you so much for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
No problem at all. Thanks again, Claudia.
Okay, take care.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.